NBA undrafted. You go to this summer league game and MJ refers you, and all of a sudden you end up a Chicago Bull. You win 3 titles off the rip. If I know it's a difficult ask that I have for you right now, but if I had to, and outside of that, come back in the fourth quarter, if I had to ask you, said you could only bottle up one memory from your 3 championships. It could be a plane ride, it could be a celebration, it could be a party,
turning point, something that changed your career, something that made your career, something that just
not even a turning point,
even
a turning point. Just like if I said Chicago Bulls first 3 chips, what is that first image or the lasting image that comes to your mind?
I think I touched on it a little bit. 92. I dislocated a finger, required surgery. I opted not to do it because I had cracked the rotation. I told you about having to sneak into practice between sessions as they looked at another player, Mark Randall, that they wanted to try to give my job to. Working my way to where I was the first big off the bench in the Eastern Conference Finals against the New York Knicks. Playing in the NBA Finals, heavy minutes and thriving in game 1 where we won by 30 points, playing in the fourth quarter down 15 when I know Phil Jackson wouldn't tell you this, Danny, but he threw the towel in. He was looking forward to game 7.
Oh, he pulled the plug. He threw the guys and said, you guys go ahead and see what you can do.
Yeah, okay, put the mop-up crew in there, right?
Yeah.
The only starter he left out there was Scottie Pippen because we didn't have a ball handler.
Yeah.
But that was proud because, like I said, those were the cats that we played with. We never mixed up starters and bench guys. So he threw us out there. We looked at each other like, this dude don't think we can do it. Let's go shock the world. And Hansen hit a 3, and Pippen scored inside, and Stacey King got a bucket and one on a flagrant foul. And next thing you know, the Chicago Stadium that was lifeless was roaring. And we caught some of that energy and adrenaline, and we chopped into that deficit, cut at the 3. And like I said, they put MJ back out there to sickle, and the rest was history. But that year, 92, start to finish, was probably my proudest moment in the league.
I also wonder too, if we go back to if you go to 93, 94, and this is where you and Danny have a little bit of a parallel too. Obviously, you guys both went to North Carolina. So Danny starts his career with the Cleveland Cavaliers and didn't get any minutes. And end of the year, what happens? LeBron goes off to Miami, and now the whole thing in Cleveland is upside down, topsy-turvy. The Cavaliers did not see Danny's worth on the team, and all of a sudden Danny's no longer a Cleveland Cavalier. You're with the Chicago Bulls. You win 3 championships. Everything is gravy until, let me make sure I get the right date, October 6, 1993. Michael Jordan retires. What do you remember from that moment, and how did you predict at that time it was going to impact your career?
Well, for me, we had a press conference, and I think Jerry Reinsdorf, who was our president of the ball club, said that it was a time for celebration. But you looked at the players' faces; it was like a funeral. Nobody celebrating his retirement. We knew one of the greats of the game, and I consider him the greatest of all time. Dan, I don't know where you weigh in on that, Harrison.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Yeah, it was like a funeral, and I felt bad because I knew what the pain was to lose a parent that was murdered, and I felt in my heart that MJ's stepping away from the game didn't have to do with him not feeling like he had anything else to accomplish, like he had said. I don't think it had anything to do with the demands from the fans. I think he needed time to mourn the loss of his dad, who was murdered for his car and his ring, for people that don't know that story, on the highway. So I didn't know. I was so triggered by that event. I didn't know how to reach out to MJ and try to embrace him and let him know what I was going through, because I had suppressed a lot of my feelings up until that point myself. I hadn't really dealt with my own stuff. And I write in my book on how even to this day, I've never talked to him about that. And it's one of the biggest things that I regret, not being around him more. I mean, I can still text him and he'll text me back, but you know, I don't have that time with him to really say, you know, I kind of feel bad that I didn't do more to help you, or at least be there if you needed someone to talk to about what had happened to his father. And I think when he got away from the game and he had a chance to mourn, not so much in the, you know, being the face of the NBA, but going down there and doing that thing down in Birmingham, shagging fly balls, I think it gave him a chance to miss the game a little bit, mourn his father. And then he came back, you know, after that, you know, 94, 95 season. I wish he would have told me he's coming back. I never would have signed that 8-year deal in Philly, but I love playing with him. And I knew what the success that follows, but the guy refuses to lose at anything. So I always felt like we were going to a playoff series. We might not win every game of the series, but I knew we were going to win the series. And pretty much once he had hit his stride with Pippen, and after Pippen had his little taste of the dream team in 92 and elevated his game, because a lot of people don't remember, Pippen was fantastic in 93, 94 without MJ. You know, he was like number 3 in the MVP voting. Right, I mean, right behind. I thought he and Akeem were right there. Akeem Olajuwon were right there for, you know, could have won co-MVP honors if you ask me. We won, I want to say, 2 fewer games than the year prior. MJ retired. So Pip had us on point. But my exit with Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson after the 93 season just did not go well. And they told me they had no idea what kind of player I was going to be, and, you know, offered me another non-guaranteed contract. And the guys that I was playing in front of were getting 4- and 5-year deals. I'm like, good God, man, what do I got to prove? Yeah. So, you know, I played 46 minutes in game 3 of a triple overtime game, and one of the longest games in the history of the NBA Finals. I mean, you had me out there for all 3 overtimes in the 4th quarter. So obviously you must think something of me as a player. Yeah. So I knew I needed to leave to get an opportunity to gain some respect elsewhere in the league. But I loved Chicago. I loved my teammates. I loved the fans. And that was probably the biggest takeaway from that 93-94 season, that we just came up a little bit short to the Knicks that year. But I was proud of what we accomplished, given that blow, to losing the game's greatest player.